Often people ask me, Adam, what is involved in managing a position? And managing can be broken down into several different types. For example, you could manage a position in rolling, you could manage a position in wheeling, but in many cases, you can manage a position by closing it out early. Someone might ask, well, Adam, how do you close a position out early? And under what circumstances is it beneficial to close that position out early? To answer the second question, when is it beneficial to close that position out early? That is different for everybody depending on what needs selling options serves for you and the difference between closing out early a covered call or closing out early a cash secured put. In my specific case, I do not like to close positions out early because I use this as my income. So if I close a position out early, that is like taking money out of my pocket, or let's say taking a vacation from work, but not a paid vacation from work. For other people, it is beneficial to close out a position early when they made a certain percentage of the play, especially the faster that they make the percentage of the play, the quicker they can close out that position. This is amplified when doing a covered call. In terms of a covered call, you are saying I am willing to sell my shares at a certain price at a certain date, hence the call, covered call. You are covering the call with your shares. In that case, with a covered call, I almost never close my position early. And in this specific video, we're going to talk about closing out a cash secured put early, and I'll give you some specifications with the numbers when it comes to that. But before I do, why would you want to close out a covered call early? If you were a beginner getting into selling options and you have a win, maybe if you made 70 or 80 or 90% of the total amount of the contract, then maybe you want to close out early. For example, let's say you collected $100 in premium and now the contract is worth 70% less, so you would make 70% of that contract. So if you got $100, maybe you need to pay back $30. The 100 that you collected minus the 30 that you have to give back, you collected $70 of the total contract or 70% of the contract. If you're a beginner, maybe that makes sense. Maybe there's an earnings call that's coming up or another volatile situation, like maybe Jerome Powell is speaking, that you don't want to deal with. So it might be beneficial for you to close the position out early, especially if you are not doing this professionally or like me, where this is paying your salary. Maybe you're doing this as a hobby or supplemental. So that takes care of the covered calls. In terms of a cash secured put, everything that I just said about a covered call might apply for a cash secured put. Maybe you made most of your money, most of your profit, and you want to close out early for the same reasons you want to close out a covered call. Earnings are happening, a volatile situation is happening, maybe tariff talks is happening, and you just don't want to deal with that nonsense. So you're willing to pay back a certain percentage of the total amount of money that you collected. So the net becomes smaller in this specific case. But there's another situation and actually a mathematical formula of when it makes sense to close out that position early mathematically, and including for people like myself that use this and rely on this premium, the options premium, to supplement their retirement, to fund their retirement. For me, and before we go into for me, there's a general rule of thumb. A lot of people like to close out their cash secured puts or covered calls when they made around 70 to 80% of the total value. Then a lot of times people will close them out as a general rule of thumb. I don't subscribe to that general rule of thumb, but I'm still sharing it with you, my audience, because maybe that is good for you. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor, purely entertainment. This is financial entertainment, not financial advice. And if you're worried about the first part of the question from earlier, I'm going to be showing you guys an example in just a moment, literally on a video that I made yesterday, where it makes sense to close it out early. To get back to it, when is it a good time to close out for me? Covered calls, I almost never close out. For a cash secured put, it makes sense for me to close it out early if the amount of collateral that I have on the position, I can free up and I can use that collateral in another options trade to collect as much as plus some additional premium in the same time duration, then it makes sense for me to close out this play. For example, let's say I put up $100,000 of collateral up. I collected $3,000 in premium. Let's say I can give back $2,000. I keep the $1,000 and I use the same exact $100,000 to make another $3,000 in premium for the same exact time duration on a different play. Then it makes sense because originally I had $100,000. I made $3,000 of premium. Well, now I had $100,000. I made $3,000 of premium. I gave $2,000 back and I made another $3,000. So 1,000 plus 3,000 is 4,000, better than the original 3,000 that I made. If you guys are confused, I'm going to show you guys an example right now. Please take a look at the screen. This is an Oscar play, literally that I made yesterday. If you missed that video, click on the link up above and then come right back here because it's going to make a lot more sense. In this specific play, I did a cash secured put on Oscar, ticker symbol OSCR, Oscar Health, and I did an $11 put saying that I'm willing to buy Oscar for $11 by the expiration date of August 15th. For this, I collected 45 cents. I literally made this play yesterday. I know it says it's July 11th, but I sold one originally on July 11th, as you can see right here. And the other 50, I got a total of 51, I sold on July 22nd. So for all intents and purposes, this is literally a one-day play. And as you can see over here, I actually have a plus 60% return, which means I collected 45 cents. However, I owe 18 cents if I wanted to buy this out right now, making a total profit of 60% of the total amount of premium that I collected. If I wanted to buy this back right now, I would have to give up 18 cents of the 45 cents that I collected. To put this into perspective, I have 51 of these positions times 100 shares times the $11 that I put up per share as the cash secured put collateral. I have $56,100 of collateral. If I pay back the 18 cents, I am now releasing $56,100 of collateral. So if I can make another play for $56,100 where I can collect anything above 18 cents, then it makes sense for me to buy this out early. There's a couple of other rules of thumb. If I'm selling a 4-week contract, that means that every week is broken down into 25%, right? 100% divided by 4 weeks, 25% a week. If I could get out of a contract and the percentage that I make for the week is higher than that 25%, it makes sense. In this specific case, I'm not waiting a week. I'm literally waiting 1 day, and I would have made 60% of the total value. So I have roughly 2.5 weeks of time in this contract that I beat if I was to buy this out early, right? Because I have 2.5 weeks of premium that I made on this contract of the total premium collected, but I made it literally in 1 day overnight. In this specific case, even if you're not going to use the collateral for something else, it might make sense to buy this back because mathematically, you should be at around 5 or 10% plus, but you are 60% plus. So mathematically, it makes sense. If I wanted to close this out, I would just go over here and instead of sell to open, I would do buy to close. Over here, you would do how many contracts you want. Let's say I have 51 contracts. And then there would be a number over here. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think I could do 0.18. I think it's going to tell me that I have to go in 5 cents. And like I said, this trade does not let me do this at 18 cents. I could only do by round numbers of 5 cents. So I would have to choose if I want to pay 15 cents or 20 cents. That means that tomorrow I can either update this to 20 cents or I can just say I'm willing to pay 15 cents. If the price of Oscar goes up tomorrow, even a small amount, I'll probably be able to get this 15 cents filled, thereby bringing up my total amount, not 60%. Maybe now it's going to be 65 or 70%, which is even more significant. And this will be a win for me. And if you wanted to buy it out, all you got to do is press review order and then you press submit. I am not going to do that. Now we're going to do the second part of this trade. If it's me and I am releasing this trade in a day, that means that I have a good 4-week play for August 15th, the same expiration, to try to find somewhere better to put that money. So let's take a look one more time. I am about to release $56,100. And on $56,100, I would have to collect roughly $920 of premium. If I'm going to be able to buy this back at 15 cents, that means that I got to collect $767. But if I have to pay 20 cents, that means that I would have to release $1,022. So it depends on what you're trying to buy it back on. Let's use both scenarios, the $767 and the $1,022, depending if you're doing for 20 cents right here, or if you're going to be doing it for 15 cents right here. And let's see what I could do. I like Snap. You guys know I have this Snap play. Very, very simple. Snap is doing fantastic. By the way, shout out for anybody that's in the Snap play. I can actually buy this one out early too if I wanted to. But let's say I don't want to buy this out early. Let's say I want to make another play. I would go trade options. I would do sell, put, and I will go to the exact same expiration date. In this specific case, I have plenty of time. I might actually make more percentage on this. So I will go my normal 4 weeks. In this case, August 15th. Why August 15th? Because this was the original expiration date for those Oscar plays. Even if this was 2 weeks from now, let's say right now it's August 8th or August 1st, I would still be picking August 15th. Always the collateral that I let go has to be for the same expiration date, and that collateral has to make me more money than the premium that I paid back, plus some to make it worth it. So I'm going to sell a put August 15th. Let's see if something makes sense. The very first thing that I want to do is see that, can I do another $8 play? Because $8 is my strike price. As you see, I have 859 of these contracts already. I have a whole video of that. Click on the link up above if you guys are unfamiliar with my Snap plays. Let's click on this again and let's press continue. So let's do the math. How many contracts do I need? My collateral is $56,100. Let's do the math. Let's go. $56,100 divided by 8 times 100. Why are we doing this? Because my total collateral is $56,100 that I released. I got to divide it by how many contracts I can afford for $8 a share times 100 shares, because that's an option. And I'm going to get a number of 70. So I am now going to put in 70 contracts. So I am going to put up $56,000 or $54,460 plus the $1,540 that I'm collecting. This is the $56,100 that I'm putting up. And I need to collect somewhere between $767 and $1,022 for it to make sense. As you can see right here, I will be collecting $1,537. So whether I buy this back at 15 cents or I buy this back at 20 cents, I am going to be collecting significantly more money than I'm releasing. It's going to cost me between $767 and $1,022 to buy out the existing Oscar contracts. I would then be collecting $1,537, so roughly making $500 to $800 more on the same exact money of collateral that I released. This is an absolutely solid play. I might actually do it tomorrow during regular trading hours. So let's just recap everything one more time. Personally, on a covered call, I will not buy it back early 99% of the time, but that doesn't mean that that applies to you. You do what's good for you, and I'll do what's good for me. Again, not financial advice. Personally, I wouldn't do it. For a cash secured put, I would buy it back early if it makes sense. How does it make sense? If the money that I'm releasing for collateral can make me in premium for the same time duration, the amount of money that I have to pay back to close the existing contract, plus some more premium, then it absolutely 100% makes sense. In this specific case, closing out the Oscar to sell more cash secured puts on Snap absolutely makes sense, especially if tomorrow maybe Snap goes down a little bit and Oscar goes up a little bit, then these numbers are going to be even better. For you, there's a rule of thumb. Break down your trade into how many weeks. So if you're doing 4 weeks, break down 100% times between divided by 4, 25%. If you're doing 5 weeks, 100 divided by 5, 20%, so on and so forth. And if the amount of percent that you made is more than the percent of that week, then it is worth it to buy back, even if you're not flipping it for another contract. If you don't use this as your actual salary, like myself, and you're doing this as a hobbyist, or this is just to cushion your 9-to-5 job, then for you, maybe it does make more sense to close this out early. Remember, if you have questions, please feel free to ask. I have lives every single Saturday, Eastern time at 8 p.m. That's for the entire channel. And then at 9 o'clock, I have lives, exclusive VIP, only for my channel members, where we take our time to explain plays and go over sniper shots like this when it comes to selling options. Guys, thank you very, very much. And no matter what you do, whether it's the Snap, the Oscar, buy it back, don't buy it back, make sure that you watch these 2 videos right here. Thank you very, very much and have a great day.